Good afternoon to everyone present here and to all joining us virtually from across the CMC campuses.
Psalm 107, verse 9 says, "For he satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things." A warm welcome to the hybrid educational series, which is organized by the Food and Beverages section, GS office, in commemoration of World Food Safety Day 2025.
This year, while the global theme is Food Safety, Science in Action, our message goes even deeper by using a shift not just in policy but in personal choice. Our heartfelt and powerful motto is say no to junk food and yes to healthy choices.
This motto reflects a commitment to a healthy living because food is not just a fuel. It is a medicine, culture, and most importantly, it is a daily decision taken which produces a lifelong impact. With that, let us begin today's insightful journey with our distinguished speakers.
The first speaker for the today's session will be Dr. Samuel George Hansdak, Professor and Head Department of Lifestyle Medicine from CMC Vellore. Sir was the former president of Asian Society of Lifestyle Medicine, former president of Indian Society of Lifestyle Medicine, and the former deputy registrar of CMC Vellore. He has accomplished rich educational qualification along with his professional experiences in the Department of Clinical Pathology, Medical Oncology, Internal Medicine, and Gastroenterology. Besides, Sir has achieved various awards and scholarships with the multiple professional associations. His interest in the extracurricular activities include music, sports, dramatics, and in computers, and has a rich history of publications in the various indexed and in the non-indexed journals. Sir has also edited a book on lifestyle as medicine, the science of healthy living, which is available in the ELS. With this brief introduction, I would now welcome Dr. Samuel George Hansdak as he would be presenting on food as medicine, eating your way out of chronic illness by bringing a powerful lens to the healing potential of food. Sir, we invite you to enlighten us with your insights.
Good afternoon, friends. It's wonderful to stand in this forum where we are talking about food and safety. And I think I was just looking into the World Food Safety Day, 7 June, has been given. The main theme is science in action. And what I'll be speaking over the next few minutes will be on eating your way out of chronic illnesses, food as medicine. So food is something which is very personal. We don't like people looking at your plate and see what you're eating. Often when you walk into the canteen and you pass some of the tables, they kind of cover the table, say, "Sir, I mean, it's like maybe I'm eating this for the first time. That's not what I generally eat." So it can be very touchy. It can be very delicate. We need to be sensitive about people also, of not making them feel very guilty about what they're doing it. But at the same time, it is very important that we understand what food contributes to our health. So just as I was discovering this, that 7 June is the World Food Safety Day. The theme is science in action. Whatever we talk about food, I mean, if you just have to Google and search, there are n number of diets around with all claims, before and after picture. That's a classical thing that people tend to use social media to advertise. But what's the science behind food? If you really look at the NCD burden that we have, you realize that as much as we are a developing countries, maybe trying to transit to become a developed countries, we have this what we call as double burden. On one side, where my infectious disease are not still under control, we have this huge burden of NCDs that is coming up. And as world around, cardiovascular disease still continues to be the highest killer, even for our country. And you can see it's about 27% is cardiovascular disease, and the others are the lung, cancers, and diabetes. Now, almost 2/3 of the non-communicable disease deaths are linked to tobacco use, harmful use of alcohol, unhealthy eating, and physical activity. So my question is, which among these are the biggest contributor to the non-communicable disease deaths? Where would you put your fingers on? Unhealthy eating? Okay. Anybody else has any other opinions? Physical inactivity. Okay. Anyone else? So we have two contenders, unhealthy eating and physical inactivity. Okay. This is what our evidence looks like. As much as physical activity is 2.5%, diabetes, alcohol consumption, obesity, current smoking, hypercholesterolemia, hypertension, they all keep on increasing. But the largest contributions to the mortalities is very interesting, insufficient fruit and vegetable consumption. And when you look into the global burden of disease, where they put in all the studies together to really see what is the root cause. When you look at cardiovascular disease, the risk factors are hypertension, diabetes, smoking, all of them. But what causes those? If you go back to the root causes, it comes to, in all these domains, are our lifestyle, physical activity, nutrition, stress, social, spiritual, all of come into that part. And so interestingly, food really have a significant contribution to our diseases, and that is something that really concerns us. If you look at the data, coronavirus, right? How many people died? I mean, over those 3 years, if you put all those numbers together, comes to somewhere around 7 million deaths over 3 years. Sounds like a big death. Look at the heart diseases, 17 million deaths per year. And if you put 3 years together, I mean, per year, if you look at 7 million and 17 millions, if you make it 18, that's about three times a death. What did we do for COVID? We shut the whole world around. What did you do for our heart disease? all your all your restaurants are open, freely open. You can walk in anytime and eat. That is where the paradox of this situation is. Who is going to tell? Shouldn't we be banning and locking down all those things which is causing more death than COVID? It's a hype. Sometimes you really have to ask a question, what are we doing? The transition is interesting. Our TVs have become flat and people have bulged out. The pyramid, it's time to flip the pyramid. Most of the time, our health work happens in these hospitals. We are busy running around patients sick and doing all kinds of heroic things up over there. But what we don't spend time is, how can we prevent these people coming into the hospital in that state? It's time. Conceptually, we need to understand. So really, the way we can help that pyramid is to looking into the different pillars or components of lifestyle, nutrition being one of them. And all of you are familiar with this definition of health by WHO. This is 1948, way before even Framingham Heart Study came, which told us the risk factors of heart disease. Somebody with a lot of wisdom put it that, really speaking, it is not just something that prevents disease or promotes health. Now we are finding more and more evidence that if you have a disease, it can remit those disease and reverse it if you're able to apply that. So lifestyle medicine is essentially, we are looking into evidence-based medicine. And this is where this year's theme says it should be science, right? So science means it should not be what somebody said, but it should be something whether the science is proven. So lifestyle, we are saying, is anything that is proven by science is what we apply. And we want to see lifestyle as an evidence base. So all these parameters, a lot of studies are coming of how it does. One of the landmark studies was by Dr. Dean Ornish. This is a familiar angio that everybody will start showing. But really speaking, what is the key thing in the understanding of medicine was, there was some disease pathogenesis which we thought were irreversible. He was able to show that even things like atherosclerosis is reversible if you have a block over there. And this was a study that was published in Lancet way back in 1990. At that time, many of our standard drugs was not standardized, and he was able to put some of these people into a full lifestyle without requiring statins and antiplatelets. And what they found, what is very key over here is to see that the stenosed vessel, if you look at it, the stenosed vessel reduced from 40% to 37%. 40% to 37. That sounds 3%, doesn't sound very impressive, but 3% opening increases the amount of blood flow significant enough to elevate your symptoms and your physical functions. And when they looked into people who had stenosis more than 50%, the response was from 61% to 55%, almost 6%. So more than the amount of stenos opening that we see over here, what we realize is that it was reversing the disease process. If you look at the patients on drugs, it only climbed up. Maybe with medicine, it climbs slowly than if there's no medicines, but no medicines, sclerosis go faster. With medicine, slows down. But anything that reverses the process was basically lifestyle. So this is something that brings to our mind that something which is so simple as that, can we give importance to that? Ask yourself, how much of fruits and vegetables do you take? But sir, it's not available. Walk into any canteens and ask them, do you have the food that in the World Safety Day they talked about in the lecture? I want that portions. You won't interestingly find it, not even within the premises of CMC, forget outside, but it's something that we need to be aware of. A lot of discussions, vegetarian versus non-vegetarian diets. If you look at vegetarians, there are a lot of classifications, just introducing some of the terms. Fruitarian, somebody who eats only fruits, raw vegan. Some people eat only raw foods. Vegan keeps away from any animal products. Lacto, take some milk. Ovo, take some eggs. Lacto, over, take some milk and egg. Pesky is those who take fishes. Flexi is can take a little non-veg in between. So among the various classifications of vegetarian foods, you're looking at what is a food pyramid. According to this, the largest portion should come from our carbs. Fruits and vegetables seems to come a little before even your proteins, and the lowest should be sugars and fats. The debate between low carbs, low fat, different diets on that side, and the percentages of protein and fat in each diet. If you look at a very popular Atkins or ketogenic diet, they cut down on carbohydrates. They feel carbohydrates is the culprit, right? There is a wisdom in that. And proteins, you will see proteins is almost 20% across all the diets. What really changes is the ratio between the fat and the carbohydrates. Incidentally, one of the published study called Pure Study by some of the leading cardiologists has come up to say that we were wrong all the time. We were chasing the fat. Fat is not the culprit. Carbs is a culprit. Now, carbs is a culprit in a sense if you don't understand how to use that carb. And that's what we are going to come up with. Anything that is refined and processed is bad. If you put all of them together, then it looks like bad, much more than the fat. So the debate is between how much of fat and how much of carbs should it be there. And that's something that we'll try to look at. Now, carbohydrates are, if you look at the food groups, what does it help physiologically? Carbohydrates physiologically is meant to give us energy for every day. What do we need every day? We need energy to do our day's work. Do we need to grow? How many of you are still growing? Check your height, inches, growing, not growing. Okay, so once you have stopped growing, the amount of proteins that we need is really not that much, right? We just need for the general maintenance, wear and tear. But what we need every day is the carbs from which we get energy, right? One will say, okay, fat also gives us energy. What about fats? Yes, it gives energy. One of the biochemistry professors I was listening, he says, fat is required for only two main reasons. I said, okay, what are the two main reasons? One, for essential fatty acids. You don't get it anywhere, so you have to take fat for that. And second is for absorption of fat soluble vitamins. You definitely need fat for that. Anything more than that gets deposited in our body and different parts. I mean, if you want to do savings for drought days, you can pack up a lot of fat. These days, patients comes and shows, what's your problem, sir? Ultrasound shows fatty liver. Can you do something for it? So consciousness about fat is also coming up. So where do we stand? So carbohydrate should technically consist of the major bulk of food, but it should be whole grain, should be eaten whole. And if you look at these things, when we ask patients, what is the color of the rice? Unanimously white. Nobody has imagined that it could be red or black, because the way we have it going is it's polished. So the whole process of polishing removes some of the health benefits of the food. Like you have germs and brands, which has fat, vitamins, minerals, and fibers. If that is removed, all that you're getting it in that rice is only carbohydrate, which is not good for our health. So it should be eaten whole. That means when you remove the covering, you call it as refining. When you reduce the particle size of the grain, you call it as processing. So both refining and processing is harmful from the health point of view. So try to take food as it is in nature. That's the buzzword that we try to tell people, right? So you can see how complex carbohydrates as compared to simple carbohydrates. Of course, all the delicacies are on the other side. And you're telling me I cannot eat that. Very bad news. When you look at the proteins, what we find is proteins are from two sources. We know that from plant sources and animal sources. When you look at the plant proteins, they have proteins. One of the biggest source of plant proteins or content of plant proteins are fiber. Sometimes we don't realize that. If you want to have a good amount of fibers, take an adequate amount of plant proteins. You will get proteins plus fibers. Animal proteins on the other sides do not have any fibers. Of course, it has some vitamins in its natural source, and so most of the people may recommend animal protein from that point of view. But what is there in animal proteins? The negative side of animal proteins are it has fat, and these are saturated fat, which is the one which causes most of the harmful in terms of disease. So one of the word I say is, if you take animal protein, buy one, get fat free. So you decide how you want to take it. Just look at the legumes, right? Look at the color. Look at the texture. Does it look interesting, attractive? So we just need one color, that KFC chicken, that color is what occupies our eyes. But you see, somehow in nature, God, in his own sense of um, romanticism, to see that people are attracted towards some of his product, he has put it over there. But sometimes these things don't strike to us. Now, fats, as I mentioned, not going into the complexities, very broadly, we have unsaturated and saturated. Unsaturated is from all the plant sources, saturated is from the animal sources. And you have to be careful that saturated are the ones which leads to most of the diseases. So the amount of consumption of saturated fat, you may need to decide for yourselves how you want to do. This is another way to represent the same thing. If you look at the amount of saturated fat that is in red, goes as you go towards the animal product as compared to the plant product. Now, most of these fats are available in two isoforms, cis and trans. And trans is straight, cis is folded. And we know that trans fatty acid, for most of the saturated, they've given you a composition, should be at least less than 10%, right? But how much of trans fatty acids we can take? Recommendation? 0. So trans should be 0. How does our fat become converts from cis to trans? These are the two ways: hydrogenation and heating. And when you put this hydrogen through the oil, it converts it. Simple way to know is a liquid oil versus a solid oil. Solid oil is what is trans fatty acids. And so the whole, imagine the way we cook at home is the pan, the oil, and then the rest of it. And the fact that you're heating the oil is converting the oil from cis to trans. If you're hydrogenating, you're converting it from cis to oil. Many of the Westerners would take the food raw and maybe just sprinkle a little oil or brush a little oil over it. You're not heating it. You are making sure that you don't convert it into a. The fruits and vegetables, we are talking about color wheel. The more the color, the better it is. And there are different chemical names which are good for our body. So in simple terms, the number of meals that we need to take, one of the, among all studies done, if you're looking at one single factor that has contributed to health and longevity in nutrition, do you know what? They call it as calorie deprivation. The more you eat, the shorter your length is. The less you eat, the longer you live. So if you look at a village and look at a villager, how much work he does, goes to the field and does all the work in a hot sun with sweat and all, how many meals does he take? Any village, any part of the India or world, how many meals do they take? 2 meals. Just ask yourselves, how many meals do you take? Breakfast, lunch, dinner? At least 2 snacks. I mean, it's so busy, you have to take a break. What do? You have to do something in the break. In the break, we are munching and breaking the snacks up over there. You see, and imagine how much work we do and how much of calorie we do. This is my nutritional prescriptions. To most of my patients, I'll say, now, if you see the first group, before taking any meals, I am prescribing raw food. Raw foods which have high fibers fills up your stomach so that less space is left for the major food that is coming. So you can actually limit your your calorie content by filling your stomach with low calorie dense foods, right? So fruits in the before breakfast, salads before lunchtime, and about 6 to 8 pieces of dry fruits. Your carbohydrates, if you see, go for a whole grains foods, as we said. Oats, don't go for white oats. Just because you're eating oats doesn't mean that's a good food. Rolled oats, which is unrefined, unpolished. Millets, again, millets these days, they have started grounding it. Make sure it's whole. And broken wheat is better than wheat flour or chapatis. We have seen patients taking chapatis, sugar really spikes up. Wondering, chapati, wheat, not bad. But the moment you reduce the particle size, you can see these parameters going up. Pulse twice, vegetable twice, and add on walking throughout the days. It's very important, not doing a long activity at the end of the day or the beginning of the day. You should be active throughout the day. There's something called sitting disease. If you sit for a long time, is equal to a cigarette. So sitting is a new disease that people are talking about. So in a very nutshell, I will put it as God's wisdom versus man's wisdom. Man is working very hard to make some extra buck. So I have to keep showcasing something new product, advertise it, and tell them that it is filled with vitamins and minerals, and package and sell it. And people are thinking that one vitamin pill that you pop will give me health and all. None of the studies on vitamins and minerals have shown any benefit. But every study on fruits and vegetables have shown to have a significant health benefit. So that's where the godly and man wisdom comes in. We're not saying speaking against medicine. Medicine has a role. Patient is sick, you need to give it. But on the long term, unless we bring in and incorporate a sense of lifestyle changes, you really won't have it, right? So my time stops here. Rest of the things are exercise. I think you are going to have sessions on those. Sunshine, very important, 30 minutes. Air, sleep, very important. If I have to just use a simple formula, how to know what is good for me, look into the nature, the rhythm that God has given us. Scientifically, we are discovering that it is best for us. And even if you don't have all the science together, if you just follow the rules of the nature, you are very close to following what is best for your body. So early to bed and early to rise, avoid early dinner, tea, coffee, TV, exercise, sleep in a quiet, dark room. Stress, challenging to manage it. And even if your fate is written deep inside your genetic code, I believe it is written in a pencil. We are talking a lot about epigenetics. You can, through a healthy lifestyle, you can even change the expression of your genes. That even if you are genetically predisposed to diabetes, hypertension, if you take care of your health, you may never develop it. So this is an abbreviation called New Start: nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, trust in divine power. And Hippocrates, very long time back, put this statement: let food be thy medicine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hansdak, for such an empowering talk where you had stressed the importance of in underlying the factors and the causes and the factors of non-communicable diseases. And you had also said about the importance of the consumption of the various food groups and the components, thereby in the consumption and the maintenance of having a very balanced diet. Let's now take a few questions from the audience and from the online attendees.
Thank you for the nice lecture, sir. It was very clear and understandable. But you gave one example that in field work, workers are having only 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day. But if we look at the plate of the farmers and the workers, it is full of rice, carbohydrate, and maybe some potatoes or something. No fiber, no vegetables. Well, in city side where we reach certain kind of nutrition education, we are able to teach them. They have limited amount of rice and vegetables and portion of dal and non-veg, whatever they have. So is it really harmful if we take 3 meals and 2 snacks, but everything is in control of portion?
So your question is whether 3 meals and 2 snacks are not bad. Is it healthy? Uh, your first question was, we have a challenge. We have a challenge that rice is a staple diet, number one. Number two is that government provides that rice. It's much cheaper and feasible for people to eat what is provided free or subsidized than to go and buy it. Cost is a major issue. So, I mean, even when we are looking at lifestyle, requires policies, decisions. We've been working with Tamil Nadu Health Department. We have put up a proposal. They said the government spends about 700 crores in the management of diabetes alone in the state of Tamil Nadu. 70 crores only on medicines. So I asked them, if you reduce the consumption of medicine, how much money will you save? They kind of was baffled to say, really, can you come down on the medicines? I said, how is that possible? I said, you change the PDS system. PDS is the public delivery system. If you change the food instead of rice, you provide them millets and add a little pulses to that. Maybe just little change in that can significantly impact many of these metabolic diseases that they are having. So policy decisions, person's educations, within the affordability, what best they can do is something that you have to innovatively come up. It's difficult to put a blanket statement and tell everybody to do a certain things because it may not be practical. So there's a lot of things that you have to do practically between one-to-one and at policy levels, that wherever you get an opportunity that you need to impact. Yeah. I don't know whether I answered your question, but these are our dilemmas. I don't think so we have a clear-cut real answers, but at least I can speak for those people who can afford. Why not start it with ourselves to take care of our health and see how we can help those which may not be in that affordability limit that we may be, to see what are the best things they can take within which they can be still within a safe health parameters.